Welcome into episode 40 of Ramie and Drew. I am Ramie Mackloff. That is Drew Flaggy. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. You can also follow us on Spotify and Apple. If you want to head on over there, we're just a couple of Milwaukee-based comedians. We talk about sports, whatever else comes to mind. Busy day in sports, Drew. I'm watching my Cubs beat up the Rockies 10-0. That's cool. The Brewers won earlier today, and just a few minutes ago, just went final. The Bucks. That was I remember the last time we talked, Drew, and we talked about the remaining schedule, and we were like, they got 4 in a row here that are pretty winnable. That should be pretty easy wins. And one of those was Washington, and they did not come out with any type of win, much less an easy win. 117-113, the final in DC tonight. And that's, I know they didn't have Dame, but at the same time, they didn't have Kuzma. The Wizards didn't have Kuzma tonight. And even if they did have Kuzma, it's still inexcusable. You can't lose to this Wizards team. Giannis had a great night. He had an amazing night, another triple-double. He'll continue to be ignored in all the MVP conversation, despite 35, 15, and 10. But other than that, I mean, they didn't show up. They got outrun. They got out rebounded. They got outscored in the paint. They didn't do much of anything well tonight, Drew, against that Wizards team and against a bad Wizards team.
Points in the paint were the biggest glaring problem. 70 points in the paint for the Wizards is ridiculous after they traded Daniel Gafford. And you got outscored when you have Brooke, Bobby, and Giannis in the paint. Yeah, Giannis had 2 fouls early, so they kind of had to go to a Gallinari lineup. That was a problem. The bigger issue with this entire game was missing open shots. And so we talked about this pre-show. For everybody listening live, I appreciate you. This is going to be the first time I'm going to actually shit talk one person. There's a guy I constantly I talk about. He's a comedian.
Do this later in the show.
Because this is exactly the take, and I wrote down the text message he sent me. This is the guy, every time the Bucks are losing, he throws a hissy fit. He's 23 fucking years old. He moved here from Chicago. He knows nothing about the Bucks being losers. He doesn't know Luke Richard and Bob Mute. He doesn't know Carlos Delfino. He doesn't remember what happened, why we were all pissed when we drafted Andrew Bogut over other players. Okay, so there's all these things with these new Bucks fans. And he told me that Giannis getting a triple-double means nothing because it's in losing basketball. Giannis does not contribute to winning basketball the way Damian Lillard does. How does it take of Jacob? No, I'm not going to say the R-tard word. I told Ronnie I wouldn't say the full word.
That was still too close.
No, it's
that was
not.
Still too close.
It's not.
Okay.
He has all sorts of dumb gamer words. This is stupidity. It is Giannis. Guys, everybody listening, Giannis, according to some of our fans, Giannis contributes to losing with a triple-double. Giannis, his stats, hold on, Rami, his stats in the first half.
Why do you give these people time and attention and energy? They don't deserve it.
Because he says he's a comedian. Because I've seen him at open mics once in a while. So I'm not going to have him fucking come to the laughing tap and throw a goddamn hissy fit because I'm just irritated with him. I'm 10 years older than him. He shouldn't piss me off. He's a fucking moron. He is a fucking moron.
So what are we doing? Why are we wasting time on our show on this?
Because I want everyone to know that I have to put up with people sitting here texting me going, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis, a 2-time MVP, Finals MVP, 50 points on one leg to close out in the finals 3 years ago now. He contributes to losing basketball. Damian Lillard is my favorite player in the NBA. Okay? I said I didn't grow up enjoying Jordan. I love the way Dame plays. I said Damian Lillard is Steph Curry for people who drink brown liquor. It's not a daiquiri guy like fucking Steph Curry, soft, fruity drinks. No, Dame Lillard is a working man three-point shooter. Okay.
House of Jacob says validating the behavior by bringing it to the masses. And that's exactly what you're doing. And by the masses, nearly dozens of people are listening to the show right now, Drew. Nearly dozens. All right. So there's no need to waste people's time with them.
But here's the thing, because now I'm pissed because this has been all year. Dame is a winner. Giannis is a loser. How many fucking rings does Damian Lillard have? He's my favorite player, and it pains me to say he's got as many as I fucking do. And I'm 5'7" and fat.
You are.
Okay.
Now you're not that fat. I don't think you're that fat.
Now that, but here's what I'll say.
You're doughy.
Giannis came out tonight looking to pass the ball to everybody. All the rotations, every single thing that they were doing, he was passing to guys in the corners. He was hitting guys in the wings. He finished the half with 7 assists. Giannis was getting everyone involved without Damian Lillard out there to create.
Yeah, that was clearly the objective there.
And that was the objective. Losses don't have to feel like they were a complete waste. He was getting guys involved and they missed shots. Malik Beasley was 1 for 9 from the floor tonight. Brook Lopez.
Yeah, Giannis was great. Giannis was awesome.
Ramie, do you believe that if Giannis took this game over wire to wire, if Giannis dominated the way he can dominate, do you think Giannis could have dropped 60 points on this team if he really just wanted the ball hog and just willpower this one, force his way through everything and win this game? Because I think he probably could have.
I think a guy like Giannis can do that most nights if he really wants to. He's going to sacrifice in other parts of his game because it takes a certain amount of energy out of a guy. But yeah, I think he can do that almost any night that he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why
I don't know if it translates to a win every time. Probably not.
It's probably.
I don't know if it translates to a win tonight, but he had there's no blaming Giannis for any shortcomings of the Milwaukee Bucks tonight or any other. And maybe on one random night here or there where Giannis was off his game, but in the grand scheme of things, there's no blaming Giannis. And anybody who would blame Giannis is somebody who's not deserving or worthy of my time and attention, which is why I wouldn't talk to them, at least, and not in any serious sort of way. Not about basketball. It doesn't make him a bad dude. I barely know.
I mean, I think he's an idiot. I think he likes to get me to this point of being pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, I think.
And you let it happen. And you let it happen.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the bigger bitch move is to block it. I think being like, oh, block it. But it's like, man, this shit's just like, it's irritating. It sucks the fun out of sports because this shit is fun. Just like what Tim Allen talked about last night, enjoying every minute of Bob Uecker calling baseball games. Like, I listened.
Yeah, for those who missed it, Tim Allen joined us yesterday of the Brewers post game show on 97.3 The Game. Go and check that out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Follow, like, tell a friend, do all the stuff. Help us grow this thing. Go ahead, Drew. Sorry.
Yeah, but no, like, enjoying that. And like I've said all year, I'm gonna enjoy what my dream lineup was having Damian Lillard and Giannis be on this team. If they don't win a championship, 29 teams don't win a championship every year. If they don't win it, that's a shame, and that sucks, and we can look back on it in 10 years and go, man, that's the best it ever got, and we couldn't win it. But we got one 3 years ago. There's no way that losing to the Washington Wizards, giving them their 15th win in franchise history, I think, tonight, there's no way that the team, the best player of all time was Gilbert Arenas, who has a podcast who's slightly bigger but way stupider than ours. There's no way that I'm going to cry myself to sleep over losing this goddamn game, because in the grand scheme of things, they were working on a lot of different things. They were working on rotations. They were getting other guys involved, trying to get guys hot going into this stretch where we're going to play some very good teams. You're going to be playing Orlando, who's a very hungry young team that's trying to get out of the play-in. But if the Bucks took a game off tonight against the Washington Wizards, fine. They're not going to sleepwalk through a series again against Miami. They're not going to sleepwalk.
But I mean, they did against Miami, Drew. And I'm not hitting the panic button, but we talked about it on the last show. A, I'd like to see this team get a little hot going into the playoffs. And B, they are at risk. I don't have the standings in front of me. I can pull them up here in a second. They are at risk of slipping in the seeding in the Eastern Conference here. And this is not a team that you should lose against. Again, I'm not irate. I'm not hitting the panic button, but I'm also not going to sit here and act like nothing happened. No big deal. You know what I mean? Grand scheme of things, big picture. You're right. Appreciate this. They got a pretty good thing. It's going to be a pretty good thing for a few years. But that doesn't mean that tonight wasn't disappointing and wasn't a game that they had no business losing. Let's get in tempered expectations. Wants to jump in on the show. What's up, dude? How are you?
Yeah, I think it cut off the rest of my name. It's tempered expectations, Jake. I'm one
What's
of the
up, Jake?
dozens that are taking in this glorious podcast. So appreciate you
By
guys
the way,
filling the void.
officially a few dozens. So thank you to
All
everybody.
right.
Follow, like,
Well,
subscribe, Spotify, YouTube, Apple. Go ahead, Jake.
no, I mean it all starts where it starts, and then you never know. I think you guys got a good show here, and it's definitely filling the void for a lot of us just Bucks fans that are in our feelings. Yeah, I don't want to say that like I don't want to be the hindsight guy and say that like I saw this loss coming, but knowing the Wizards, obviously there's a huge talent disparity. They're one of the worst teams in the league, but the Bucks are in autopilot mode right now. The Wizards play with pace. They have a lot of young players. They have a lot of athleticism. That's always going to give the Bucks trouble, as they're the oldest team in the league by a pretty good margin, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, like in the first half, I could see this coming when they weren't running an offense. It was just literally whoever got the ball was looking for his shot, getting his numbers in, because they probably assumed, okay, we'll dick around here for a little bit, and then fourth quarter, maybe even third quarter, we'll just close this out. But that can come back to bite you in the ass when, again, you have a team that has nothing to lose in Washington. They're going to get up for guys like Giannis, and I don't know. It just kind of continues the theme that the Bucks this year have not really been able to build anything. They get a little bit of momentum, and then they come crashing down to earth. And this team has just felt off to me. I hate to be so negative. I don't feel like they're a title contender. They've felt off since the moment Dame Lillard got out of that limo. I think there's a lot of Bucks fans that are in denial. They'll try to justify it, but from that moment, it just, as soon as he walked out and looked like somebody killed his dog, I was just like, that wasn't good. I didn't like that. And it's just, there's not been anything since that has made me feel like, number one, that this team is clicking. Number two, that Dame wants to be here and that Dame is a long-term fixture here. And number three, that they are any better than they were last year. I mean, last year at this time, they were rolling. And I think they may have won a title last year if they didn't get cute in the first round. But I don't know.
Well, I'll even say the Kevin Love thing where he slid underneath Giannis going out and being down for 2 games, and then Bud held him out for a third, hoping we could just go on a run here. That was sleepwalking on the coach's, part. Giannis probably would have played through the injury, I think, going into like the third game of that series. We definitely did sleep on Miami, looking at them as an 8 seed, but that was the same returning roster that won the 1 seed the year before. Injuries and cold shooting out of Duncan Robinson are what put them in the 8 seed. So they were a 1 seed masquerading as an 8 seed. The team that should feel more shame was Boston, letting that go to a game 7 for Tatum to get hurt, because they overlooked Miami after seeing what they did for 2 rounds. So I'm not going to worry too much about Miami this year. They're a way worse team than they were. I think they're a 6 seed at best, and I think that we can handle any of them. I'm not worried about anybody, because when you look at everyone's 2 best players, even if Jimmy Butler's going nuclear, I still don't think that if Jimmy Butler's playing the way he played last year, I still don't think he's good enough to beat Dame Lillard and Giannis with Terry Rozier as his second guy, or Tyler Hero wherever he's been, or Duncan Robinson off the bench, or Bam Adebayo tonight. Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't think any of those guys are good enough to beat our guys.
Well, I do have to caution you a little bit, because my boy Bart Winkler, last year during that series, after the Bucks lost, and I had some concerns on his show, and he pretty much was saying a lot of the things you're saying right now. It's like, there's no way it's not sustainable. They're not going to lose to Miami, and we all saw what happened. So I don't know. The nice thing about, I guess, the Bucks being disappointing this year is, like, I'm not going to be bummed if they lose. Like, I don't know what to expect from this team. I said the way this year has gone, I could see the first series going to a 7-game, drag out series. Then in round 2, they sweep whoever they play by, an average of 30 points each game. Then in the, Eastern Conference Finals, they could, win game 1 by 40, lose game 2 by 40, win game 3 by 30. Like there's no regularity with this team. There's nothing you can count on. And they have enough talent to where on any given night they could smoke anybody. But then given the way or the lack of fit and just like, I don't know if it's like they're just moody or what, but they can't put together a solid run of basketball. And it's frustrating as hell.
I can't blame you for saying you can't know or don't know what to expect from this team, and therefore you have no expectations come playoff time. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm talking myself into this. I think this Bucks team, and I wasn't saying this when they went on their championship run because they didn't have the pedigree and the track record for me to step out there and say this, but I think this Bucks team can just flip the switch come playoff time. And I still expect them to make, I'm not saying I expect a championship necessarily, and I'll be disappointed with anything less or anything short of that. But I do expect a deep playoff run for this team. And you say you don't think they're a championship team. I still do think this is a championship team. I think you got guys up and down this roster who are here for the championship run, including Giannis and Chris at the top, and you added a guy in Dame who's shown that he's built for the big stage. That's what he does. He comes out and performs when the pressure is on. So I'm telling Drew that there's nothing to worry about here, but at the same time, I still have that belief and that expectation. When you have 3 guys like Giannis, Chris, and Dame, and a roster that's studded with guys that have a championship pedigree and did it just 3 years ago, I think this is a team that come playoff time, they can flip the switch and you'll see the best version of them. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm just talking myself into that.
I just find these games irritating. Even like I said, the year that we won, we won it all. We were the 3 seed. We took games off against bad teams. I think we went 1-3 against Charlotte in that year. Just LaMelo Ball bombed us that year. What did that have to do with anything that happened in the playoffs? Nothing. It didn't affect anything. So I mean, we were a toenail away from going home in the the second round. So what is it? I mean, I don't know. Like for me right now, the Bucks are going to have to prove to me that Damian Lillard and Giannis are not winners for me to start going, oh, we weren't winners. Those two have to prove me wrong for having faith in them.
Well, I think I would have to caution against comparing that team 3 years ago to this team because one thing about that team is they had, for the most part, other than Holiday, a system that had been in place, a system they were comfortable with. They had a defensive identity. This Bucks team does not have that. There's still so many new pieces. Obviously, the coaching fiasco that happened. And I want to be clear, Damian Lillard is my favorite. It's either him or Grant Hill is my favorite non-Bucks player of all time. We have gotten a different version of Damian Lillard than I grew to love. I don't know if that is magically going to change in the playoffs, that all of a sudden he's not going to be emo anymore. I hope so. I hope that we can do that. But I think that a lot of I posted this question on X Twitter, and I think a lot of Bucks fans were lying to themselves because I said, if you could do it again right now going into the playoffs, if you could have Bud and Holiday or Doc and Dame, would you do it? And it was about, I don't know, probably like a 70-30 split that said no, they wouldn't take that back. I don't really believe that that's a true number.
Jake, that's a great question, man. And thanks for chiming in. Drew, what is your answer to that question?
When he adds the coaching thing.
Sorry, I should ask Jake. I always do that to people and they come back and they're like, oh man, I had one more point. Jake, did you have anything else to add? I thought that was a great call. I don't know what to call him on this thing.
No, I think that was a great cutoff, Ramie. Don't doubt yourself, man.
All right. No, I always get the tweet afterwards where people are like, I didn't even get to say blah blah blah. Appreciate you, Jake. No, thanks for chiming in, man.
To my answer to that. Oh, God damn it, you did it. whatever. Okay,
he's listening. He's watching. He's gonna hear it. But go ahead.
So, adding the coaching part to it adds a different level. I would feel more secure going into the playoffs this year if it was still Drew and Bud. I would feel safer. But safe is how Bud always coached this team and would never deviate from being safe. I kind of am more excited for the unknown of what Dame could do in the playoffs with all of these players.
That's what I was just gonna say. I'm still there.
Dame,
I'm still at that place where it's like, no, man. Let me see what Dame and Giannis can do in a playoff run.
That's why you want this team assembled. So let me flip it. Dame, I have more confidence in than Bud. Drew, I probably have more confidence in than Doc. So it's kind of an offsetting thing, but like the potential for Damian Lillard to just have a 60-point game and just go nuclear from three, I think that's impossible to want to replace. Like, I don't know. And maybe 3 years from now when this all falls apart, Ramie, did you freeze? Oh, no, you didn't.
No, I'm trying to do something on my computer. My screen is really dark, and
okay.
but carry on. Go ahead. Don't worry about me.
Now, if we got to start looking at this thing and go, okay, it didn't work. How are we going to reload the roster? Are we going to trade for picks? Are we going to trade for players? You know, if we don't have a championship, then it'll be easier to answer that question looking back on it. But I think Bud was too stubborn, and I mean, maybe he would have been able to implement something better with Damian Lillard earlier in the year to get him involved, but I don't know. Like, also, like, there are some of those games when, like, there have been tight games and guys have been knocking down shots, and it's not just Dame. Dame's been getting fired up. Like, I think Damian Lillard, among all else, likes to win. I think he's a winner. Yeah. I think that Beverly's a winner. Bobby Portis is a winner. Those guys are, when it comes down to it, the biggest guy that I'm relying on is Bobby Portis, honestly, because he needs to harness what he gets at home on the road. Because it's tonight funny, he had flashes. He had flashes.
Motion had commented early in the show, long before Jake asked that question. He said, "Should have never fired Bud." And I have had that thought, Drew. I'm not going to say that there's nothing there, but to Jake's question of would you rather have Bud and Drew or Doc and Dame, I'm still, like you said, I'm still in the headspace where it's like, no, I'm still pretty excited about Dame Lillard, and I don't think he's Eeyore from the Winnie the Pooh cartoons in terms of his personality or his mood as a Milwaukee Buck. Look, man, I've talked about this before. I'm sure there are struggles in terms of Dame Lillard's happiness and lifestyle and mindset and being a West Coast guy his entire life and asking to go to Miami, ending up in Milwaukee instead. Like, yeah, man, there are probably some things about that he's not exactly thrilled about. Life isn't necessarily perfect for Dame Lillard right now. He's not with his kids. Oh, and he's going through a divorce, so he's not with his kids as often as he probably would like to be. Like, yeah, there's a struggle in this moving for work thing, and I think that's one area where, people are always saying don't compare your life to professional athletes. I think like that's probably something that you can compare, even with all the money and whatever comes with that. Moving across the country, moving away from your family, moving away from everything you've known your entire life is going to come with some struggles. And so, yeah, Dame probably has had some times where he hasn't been the happiest person. I don't think that means he doesn't want to be a Milwaukee Buck.
Yeah, I mean, he's said a lot of things about the fan base, whether it's lip service or not. He said a lot of things about the fans being supportive, and he likes it. He likes the atmosphere. He likes when the Fiserv Forum is rocking and like all the fans are screaming their heads off and going wild when Bobby Portis comes into the game just for checking in and stuff. Like, Dame notices that kind of stuff, and he's gonna thrive off of it. Like, Damian Lillard, as much as I may have hated on him, right, Eric? As much as I may have hated on him all year long, when it comes down to winning time, I think there's nobody better outside of Steph Curry than like Damian Lillard right now in the NBA. And he's really going to have to not show up in the playoffs for me to start going, maybe this isn't the same guy. Because this is a different system. He's never played with a guy like Giannis, who, I don't know. Oh, Giannis, did he have 30 points on 60% shooting again tonight? Yeah,
He
he
had
probably
another
did.
another
That's
triple
losing
double. Yeah,
basketball, guys. He slows everybody down.
I'm starting to get pissed off again by how little he's talked about in the MVP conversation because it's really kind of ridiculous what he's doing.
Look, you can't lose to the Wizards and get in the MVP conversation. That might have just closed the casket on that one. I don't care, because here's the thing, because Embiid never should have got that MVP last year. And this is, when they're all having these conversations now about what people will say in the future when it comes to MVPs, like when we talk about the broken narrative system in the NBA. So you get like all these people that are like, well, if we give Giannis a third one, what does that say about everybody else? No, it's like, who was the MVP? Who was the most important player to their team with everything going on, like coaching changes and stuff? Who was the constant player on that roster? Who was the least up and down, the guy who contributed to so many wins on that team, just the fixture of that lineup that if you took him out, they are a much worse team? And it's Giannis. I'm sorry. It is Giannis every fucking time.
Yeah.
He's been better than Jokic this year. He's got a better record than Luka.
I think he's never been, I've said this earlier in the season, I still believe it. I think he's never been more valuable to the Milwaukee Bucks than he has been this year.
And all the things that you would say that, like, wow, look at the resilience of Giannis. Instead, they all go, well, their coach got fired because of him. It's like, no, Giannis is the only guy tonight was his 10th.
He's holding it together. Yeah.
Tonight was his 10th triple-double, losing basketball. That's what people say. That's what people
in Spider-Man, when the ship gets cut, was it Spider-Man? When the ship gets cut in half and he's he's holding it together single-handedly that's Giannis. That's Giannis right now.
Lillard's Iron Man. So Damian Lillard's Iron Man and comes through and zaps it all and fixes it all because they're a team.
I hope so. I hope so. Some comments on the YouTube channel. This one from oh, come on, pop up there. Wow. This is from Great Value Brand Bird app. He says, God bless Brooke Lopez, but Brooke Lopez looks like shit. He is having a rough little stretch here.
He's in a little bit of a funk right now. I don't know if Doc told him to stop taking 35 pointers, but like, Jesus, man, he hasn't hit a 3-pointer in like 2 games.
They said tonight that Doc was asking him to rely a little bit less on the 3-pointer and play a little bit more like a 7-footer around the hoop.
Okay, so cards on the table. I was at the bar. They had country music playing over the Bucks game, which is a weird contrast. like you hear Morgan Wallen, also you're watching.
Fair enough.
Breeze, you're like, this doesn't line up, but it's whatever. It's fine. So I didn't hear any of the telecast. I just watched it.
By the way, you wanted Jake to Jake to see or hear your take on his question. He said, I'm listening. So he heard it. And he also said, does Dame feel like a one and done? Doc, and does Dame feel like a one and done for you guys? No, I don't think so.
No, because I've said that I think that Damian Lillard is going to get 2.5 full seasons here. If we win a championship this year or next year, Dame plays his entire contract here, and that's it. And then he's going to...
Oh, wow. Jake also throws this, and he says, Doc just said, sorry to cut you off, in his post-game press conference, that they're not professional or serious enough on the road.
So Doc has said that also before about like the lack of focus, where there was, I forgot the last road trip, where a lot of the guys were talking about getting back to Milwaukee and the plane ride home and stuff while they were going into a game, and they walk through another game and just got beat.
I was going to say, does he mean they're enjoying the nightlife too much? Because I've never been, but is there shit to do in DC? There ain't shit to do in DC, is there?
No, I don't know. They have an improv there, but
there is an improv there. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Like, I don't even necessarily know if it's them all partying and doing shit like that. Like, I doubt that's the character of this team. Like, sure, they probably all go out, once in a while, but I doubt these guys are staying out till 5 a.m, just screwing around and stuff. I think it's more just them overlooking teams and not being as focused when they're like, we should just out talent a team like the Wizards, because the bigger issue at this point in the season with teams like the Wizards and the Pistons and the Hornets is you have a lot of guys that maybe don't have a spot on that roster, but like they can be moved for draft picks, like second round picks, and they can go get onto a contender by just playing their asses off and being a bench guy or something. Like Kuzma, I think, is stuck with his contract. I think Jordan Poole, with the way he acted all year long, kind of is like he kind of maybe played himself out of getting traded anywhere serious. But like Denny Advia and Corey Kispert, those are guys that you could put on another team that could win. You know, just kind of veteran guys off the bench. Like Corey Kispert would look good on Oklahoma City. You know, Denny Advia would look good in a Lakers uniform or a Clippers uniform coming off the bench or something like that. Like these guys are trying to prove that they have a place in the league. And if you can put your skills on display and outplay a sleepwalking, what should be a number 1 seed is a number 2 seed with 2 guys who are top 75 players, go outplay them. Because it's going to look good when it says, oh, look what Corey Kispert did against the Milwaukee Bucks. Because they're never going to look back and go, well, Malik Beasley went 1 for 9 from the floor. They're going to go, he beat Giannis, who had a triple-double. Look at that.
I think anytime you have a trophy in your case recently and an MVP and like a face of the league type of guy on your roster, you're going to get close to everybody's A game night in and night out. I did want to move on and talk about the Brewers before we wrap this thing up, Drew, but I mentioned the standings, and they're lucky because the teams behind them in the hunt for the 2 seed have not really capitalized on some of these losses that the Bucks have had. They remain 2 games up on Cleveland in the loss column for who's the 3 seed right now, and 3 games up on Orlando and New York. Orlando has, if I'm not mistaken, or excuse me, the Knicks have lost 3 in a row now. So they're slipping a little bit in the standings, but still you have 2 games left against Orlando. Like I said, they're 3 games behind you in the loss column, and 1 against the Knicks. If they're not careful here, they could easily slip into I said the last time we talked, into the 5 seed realistically. I don't think that's going to happen at this point. But they could slip into the 4 seed. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, and I don't want that. I want them to stay right where they are at number 2.
No, because like I said before about, you know, specifically Bobby Portis, he feeds off that hometown crowd, and you want to have as many home games as you can possibly get in the playoffs, so he can ride that in whatever we get from him on the road. Hopefully it's better than what we seem to normally get, but like I would like the Bobby Portis that can score 12 points and get you 7 rebounds. I don't think that's asking a lot on the road. Sure, at home, I'm kind of expecting the double-double machine to come off the bench, but you know, go be the villain, and you know, go piss off Miami. I don't care. You got Pat Bev behind you anyways, so just go out there, let them be the villain duo, and just feed off their crowd, just being like, ha, we're better than everybody. Like, go do it. Like, that's totally fine.
Well, better news from American Family Field today, Drew. The Brewers stay undefeated in their home opener, 3-2 over the Twins. And I honestly, we talked about this with Tim yesterday. Again, go catch our discussion with Tim Allen of the Brewers post-game coverage on 97.3 The Game. Follow us, as it says across the bottom of the screen there, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, and go check that out. Like, rate, review, tell a friend, all the good stuff. But after you get past the first 2, maybe 3 guys in the Brewers rotation, you really don't know what to expect. I don't mind saying that. You barely know who these guys are, but they got a solid performance today, and the bullpen really continues to be sort of the backbone of this thing. And I think they're going to rely on the bullpen quite a bit, at least to start things off, till they figure out exactly who is who in the starting rotation.
So I didn't know.
And MVP Christian Yelich is back.
I didn't know a whole lot about Jacob Junis coming into this year. Like I knew he's been in the league for a bit. I didn't know what kind of stuff he had. He's not the kind of guy that like he comes in like when we were talking about Tim threw out the name like, you know, Montgomery. It's like, you know what he is as a pitcher. We faced him for a while. Like, it would be nice to get a guy like that. I didn't really know what to expect out of Junis. And then when he got a couple strikeouts in like the second inning, I think he struck out 2 guys, or did he strike out the side in one of these, the third or something? Or I was like, oh, okay, so this guy can strike out some batters. Like, all right, Like that was good. He went through the middle of the lineup, got a couple strikeouts. So that
4
was
strikeouts in 4 innings. He only had 3 hits, 1 run.
yeah, that was good. It was a good little outing. Yeah, he didn't go 5 innings. The bullpen was incredible today. That's encouraging, but also with all of these guys that throw like 100 miles an hour coming out of the bullpen, leaning on them a lot is always scary because of fatigue. And when does that ball flatten out? You know, how much rest are they going to get, especially if we got starters that aren't going to go. And this is too early to sit there and go, we need to get quality starts. We need 6 innings out of everybody. That's not realistic early in the year. Like this is, you know,
No.
it's a
I think
sprint. So
I think this is the plan. I think right now this is the plan of leaning pretty heavily, especially with the Devin Williams injury, leaning on the middle of that bullpen because they got a surplus of arms and big arms and guys that can come out there and give you some high leverage innings. And they're undefeated. I forgot I made a funny banner. They're undefeated. See what I did there, Drew? They're on pace for 162 and
I know that it's a long season, but you can't do that. You're jinxing it.
but pretty much all the innings have been high leverage innings. There haven't been really blowouts in this season, and they keep on just churning out arms from that bullpen and guys who get it. I mean, Freddie Peralta gave him 6 on opening day, but other than that, I don't think they've gotten 5 from anybody in the other 3 games.
No, but I'm all right with that so far. Like just early on, you're gonna have a lot of days off here and there. I'm totally good with it. Like to start the season, this is the best way to start the season. We won a high scoring game. You know what? We won 9-8 against the Mets or something like that, and we've also won 3 pretty close games. Just what I would call a conventional baseball game. Just a 3-1 win. A 3-2 game. Stuff like that. I'm good with those kind of things. Like I actually I'm more invested in close games that are low scoring when like one pitch can just absolutely change the game. I was talking to our friend AJ, who we've had on the show. I'm doing the thing again. Our friend
AJ Grill. He and I are both in the Madison's Funniest competition at Comedy on State. We're both in the April 10th preliminary lineup. Come out and give us your votes. Give us your votes, whether we deserve them or not. Give us your votes. There's $1,000 on the line. Come give me your votes. It's Comedy on State in Madison on April 10th.
So anyways, I was texting AJ during the game because he's a big Brewers fan.
Yeah.
And he said something about, he just used the word impressed about something. I said I'm not impressed, encouraged, discouraged, or off the wagon on anybody because it's 4 games into a massively long season. So I'll take stock of it. I'm just happy to get to pop on the baseball game and just put a smile on my face and crack open a beer and just be happy watching it. That's
Isn't it
all
cool
I
that
want.
baseball is back?
Yeah, it's gonna snow tonight. That sucks.
Yeah, I know.
That's upsetting.
I don't know about you, but my girlfriend is already sick of it. She's already like, I'm tired of baseball. I'm like, we are 4 games into the season. Now, granted, I follow 2 teams closely, so we're 8 games into the season. But it's still way too early for and I don't mean to sound like my girlfriend's complaining again, because it's not at all like that. But it's way too early for the I'm so sick of baseball discussion to be happening right now. I'm okay with it. Like 40 games into the season, I understand, long year. We're 4 games in, man. I can't do this right now. We can't do this right now.
I will do this right now. I will say that the one thing that I'm just not overly pumped about is the batting lineup that Pat Murphy has been kind of dicking around with. I don't understand why Rhys Hoskins was in there today, and
why not?
6.
He went 2 for 3.
No, I don't understand why he was batting 6. That's all it was. I'm
okay.
like, give me your cleanup hitter because. And this isn't going to be me hating on Willy Adames. I'm like, just take the pressure off of him and let him bat 5th, 5th, 6th. And because I get it. Okay. So they wanted Willy Adames, they wanted the righty lefty split, Yelich batting 3rd. And then, you're going to have the righty, but it's like Hoskins is a righty. Just let him bat in the cleanup spot. He's probably more comfortable there. I don't know. I would guess I think he's more of a professional hitter than Adames. And like I said, this isn't me just unfairly knocking Adames like I will throughout the season. I just, to get the most out of Willie, I would like him
Sure.
down in the lineup where he's going to see pitches that they actually have to throw to him instead of them kind of pitching around him and stuff. And Willie's had a good 4 games so far. Like, it's been better than what I usually beat him up over. So I'm okay with
He's batting
what we've got.
.313. Willie Adames is off to a good start.
I would also, the other thing too is I get it having the lefty righty thing going on where, Pat Murphy decided to lead off Sal Frelick. Honestly, after opening day and the way Churio hit, I like Churio's plate discipline. I like to see what.
Where'd they have him today? Was he Yeah, he was batting 9th, huh?
Yeah, so you were still going righty lefty essentially after you turn the lineup over and stuff, and so he's basically acting as a secondary leadoff hitter at that point. But just to start the game, like Frelick, he's not. The contact isn't there.
I think they were thinking the same thing with Frelick that they were going into opening day with Churio, which is just don't because he has gotten off to a slow start. He's had I think 1 hit so far on the season. He's batting 77. I know it's 4 games into the season, but he's not had a hot start to the season. I think, and they said coming into opening day, they didn't want Churio sitting on the bench, thinking about his first at bat. They just wanted him to get out there and get it over with. I think they want Frelick to not think about it. I think they just wanted to get him out there and get him swinging.
And Churio batting 9th, he came up with the bases loaded today. Ripped one. Like, great. To do that on opening day, you get a bases loaded hit, you get your RBI at home, you hear the crowd going nuts for you. That's got to be the greatest feeling in the world for him. So like I was excited because I was getting home when that happened, like from work. So like I was listening to it. I got Euchre's call on the radio. It happened. I was in my car. I was pumping my fist. I was pumped for Churio for that one. So that was cool. Like and I would think like I don't have a problem with them going righty to lead off a game. I don't care. I like Contreras in the 2-hole. Yelich. He's back.
Dude, I'm a guy who doesn't I don't get too riled up. I used to, but I don't get too riled up or too concerned with lineups. And I think it doesn't matter as much as we often make it out to seem. You know what I mean? I really just don't think it matters. I would like to see Churio getting as many plate appearances, as many at bats as possible, which that happens more at the top of the lineup. You're right. I would like to see Rhys Hoskins in more of a run producing position. I would like to see Willie Adames in like a lower leverage position where you're not relying on him as much. But at the end of the day, like a given situation where you need a hit or you need a guy to come through, it's a 1 in 9 chance that it's going to be that guy stepping to the plate, no matter where they are in the lineup. You know what I mean?
And also, like, I understand this is 4 games into the season, and I am nitpicking right now because there's not a lot there's nothing I'm upset about, honestly, on this team to start the season. The defense is incredible already to
Has
start.
been great.
That was great. Oliver Dunn had that diving stab. That was great at third. Abner Uribe.
And they talked coming into the season about how much of a strength that would be, and that's huge to keep runs off the board. Those plays that you make, even the easy ones, they start to stack up in terms of keeping runs off the board for the other team.
And speaking of guys who are, big defensive players, Bryce Terang, oh my God, the way he's been hitting that goofy ass bat that he has, that thing's crazy looking. It's like a fungo. Like, I don't know what that thing is, but like, man, like I like the way Terang's been at the plate, the way he's been approaching the ball. And like, I think that they're all seeing the ball better than the team last year did. I don't know. Like, it's an early sample size, but they're not waving it shit out of the zone. I know it's early and guys are kind of relying on fastballs and like sinkers and stuff like that right now. You're not getting nasty sweeping sliders to start the year out of starters, but like they're staying on the ball well and they got a good approach to the plate and they're building. I hope this builds them confidence to carry later.
I know you joked about it, but Christian Yelich looks really good, and it's way. I'm not just going off numbers because it's way too early to go off numbers. I'm just talking about. I don't know. I I feel like I have a pretty good eye for when a guy is swinging it and is really feeling it. And Christian Yelich, his approach at the plate, and Tim Allen mentioned this last night. Go check out our conversation with Tim Allen, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Subscribe, like, rate, review, do all the stuff. But it's gap to gap power, even when it's not getting out of the ballpark. And this tweet today from Matthew Trueblood. I don't know, Matt. I don't know what he does. I don't know if he's just a dude or if he covers the Brewers. No offense to Matthew. Shout out. But I found this interesting. He says, people keep asking, is Christian Yelich back? And it really lays bare to me that I failed in informing you all because, like, yeah, he is, but not just now. Since May 1st last year, 531 plate appearances. That's almost a full season. His slash line is 296, 387, 485, 50 extra base hits, 67 walks, 108 strikeouts, 25 stolen bases. That's a really good baseball player right there. And
Yeah.
if Christian Yelich is back in anything close to MVP form, Drew, I don't want to go too far down this wormhole because, again, it is early in the season and it's late in this show, and I do have to pee. It changes the whole conversation about this Brewers team if you have a guy performing at that level in the middle of your lineup.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm happy he's back in the 3-hole to actually have the opportunity to be a run producer, and now he looks like he has the be that hitter again. Because I do think having him lead off last year was see as many pitches as possible, stay on the ball, try to figure out if you can drive it again. Because the years after that freak knee injury, he was stepping in the bucket a lot. He was pulling his head off the ball. He looked like he didn't want to take inside pitches, and now it seems like he's gotten back to what he was good at. And he's actually like 100 pitches he wants, and he's looking to drive the ball again. And he is the old guy on the team. Like he's the veteran on that team now.
We should get Matthew Trueblood on the show. He is the managing editor and writer for like all the teams that I've talked about for a living. Drew, Twins Daily, Brewer Fanatic, and Northside Baseball. He just covers them all. He covers everything that I've covered. We should get him on the show. So shout out. But he follows me too. I'm gonna follow you back, Matthew Trueblood. I hope you're listening or watching us right now on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. I should hit him up and we should get him on the show. But that's a very good sign. And I don't want to harp on it, but I also don't want to just skip right over it. That you're getting what you're getting from Christian Yelich for damn near a full season now.
Well, and that's also the same thing as me not getting too high or low on like the young guys and stuff. But like, the thing I keep saying that going into this year, I don't have World Series aspirations with this team. I just want to watch these young guys develop. That's it. I just want to watch Terang, and if Weimer comes back up, I'm sure he will. I want to watch Churio, obviously. Like I keep saying, I want a Rookie of the Year campaign coming out of him. That'd be really fun to watch. And then also that bullpen is just so electric the way that those guys play. I don't know how many Brewers fans, this would be a fun thing to answer. How many Brewers fans get pumped when like the middle relievers are coming in? Because I love it when I love Hope. He's awesome.
You're waiting for a bullpen game. You're waiting for Johnny Holstaff to get a start.
You know how many games like that we used to have like Jorge Lopez and shit? And you're like, oh God, here we go. It's a bullpen game. And we have guys like that. And now I'm just like, fuck, we're gonna see a couple of innings out of like Pegrino or whatever his name. Like we get some out of him. We get some shit out of Uribe. Like I'm like, yeah, dude, bring them in. Like I want to see these dudes throw 1,000,000 miles an hour and then just be like, all right, well now they're on the bench now because they threw 8 pitches. So
in case you were wondering, Drew, the Cubs won. So Cubs win, Brewers win. I know Brewers are still 2 games up in the division. We're not watching the standings just yet, and the Bucks lose. And unless you got anything else, this has been episode 40 of Ramie and Drew.
Oh yeah, I got Dandy comedy show Thursday night through Milwaukee Comedy. I'm gonna be headlining that.
Go check them out.
Come and heckle and be like, hey, Giannis is a losing basketball player. Say that.
Oh my!
Say it to my fucking face for $15 at the door.
or go to MilwaukeeComedy.com to get tickets. That's Drew Flaggy. I am Ramie Makloff. This has been episode 40 of Ramie and Drew. We will talk to you again tomorrow.